works and why we operate the way that we do, even though it seems unorthodox. It really works, okay? When you, we have Jack, you have a marker? Oh, it's here. When we recruit somebody, it is a true partnership. That's why we don't say, you know, you guys work for Samir, you guys work for Shaq, I work for Shaq. That's not the mindset that we have. So when you recruit somebody, it's a partnership. You've heard of people starting businesses, they say, this is my business partner, and they have some type of partnership. The only reason to form a partnership is when people have something that you need or it's something that you don't have. There's no reason. Like, if I'm starting a business and I have everything that I need, and I'm like, hey, Shaq, come in on this business with me, but I already have everything that I need, all it's doing is cutting my profit in half. And it's bringing in potentially a dissenting voice. So that's why a lot of times partnerships don't work. But a partnership will work if the person has something that you are lacking. Usually, that falls under three things: time, money, skills. And I'll add one under the same and say resources. The reason why and this should be explained to people, that when I hire you, the reason this system works is because you get to leverage my time. Okay, we got a couple guys on our team, they are going back to college. They're not going to be here. They're not going to be in Northern Virginia. They're going to be in class. They're going to be playing sports. Assumptively, they're not going to have the same amount of time as when they do when they're on summer break. Or we hire someone that has a 9 to 5, or you're working 40 hours. Maybe it's not 9 to 5, but you're putting in 40 hours. So what's happening is you are coming to us because we can help you build a business. You don't have the time, we have the time, because we're full time. That's what we do. So that's where we have the leverage. Money, that luckily our business doesn't really involve that, but that's just, you know, for you to understand why partnerships are formed. A lot of people have, and I say this in my interview, that one of the resources of why people don't start a business, the most obvious one is people are lacking money, right? So there's time, ideas, money, right? Time, ideas, those are the resources. Time, ideas, money. People have ideas, but then they don't have the money. But that doesn't really relate to our business because we're not giving money, we're not taking money, okay? Now the skills and the resources, right? We have the skills, they have the resources. What skills do I have? You can be a really good computer programmer and you can be making $150,000 at your job. You don't know how to market insurance the way that I do. You could know how to work at a job, be really good at in project management, you know how to manage your own 401k. It doesn't mean that you can reduce fear and uncertainty and doubt with clients and get them to separate themselves from their life savings. That's my skill. You have your skills. I can't do your job, but right now you can't do my job. So when we partner up, the reason you're taking me on appointments is because you have a resource that assumptively I don't have. I don't have the ability to walk into your parents' house or your own house, right, and talk to your wife without you there, or your neighbors or your friends or your family. So you have that resource. What I have the skill to get those resources and turn them into profit and happy clients and lifelong clients, and we can both move our business forward. And until you really understand that and you feel that way and you posture yourself that way, you're always going to let people push you around that don't want to go on appointments until they get licensed or take you on the wrong type of appointments, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. You have to view it as a real partnership. You know, I recruited somebody last week, and she was joking with me. She sent me a text. She's like, so how many points or how much money did you make off recruiting me? And she was joking. And I said back, I was like, ha ha, I don't make anything until you actually sell something. And that could take a really long time. Shaq said that in Saturday training too. I didn't even talk to him about this conversation. I said, so really it's a risk for me because I have to spend a lot of time with you to see if I'm ever even going to get a return on your investment. It's a bigger risk for you guys. It's a bigger risk for us. Does that make sense? If you know how to go out there and close a sale where you can make $500, $1,000, some of you guys with a securities license, 5, 7, 10, right? If you guys have, I know your pipelines, you have things in the pipeline, you can make over 10,000 in a transaction. Why would you be wasting your time? And you have to help people understand that the risk for us is that we could be potentially wasting our time. Now, what's the risk for them in their mind? That we are going to embarrass them, that we're going to be aggressive, we're going to use these sales tactics that are going to make their friends and family standoffish and not support us. So what I say to people when I sit down, I put that on the table. I say, I know why you're reluctant to set appointments, but here's the thing, I'm risking my time. Let me show you a couple recent examples of clients that I've sat down with, how much I've made. I've been doing this since division. It's not because who I am right now. I want them to know I have the ability to make money. But put their concerns on the table. What are your concerns? I'm going to embarrass you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Let me walk you through how an appointment works. And you can kind of do a little 5-minute mock appointment with them. You got to do these things to get people to open up their markets, guys. That is the only reason we recruit, is so we can have more places to go. That is the only reason. Yes, later on, that will lead to people that are independent, people that you've duplicated yourself into, passive income, but the immediate goal is so we can have more places to go, and that's how every company works. But they benefit too, right? They get to come to these meetings. Remember, get to come, not have to come.
Right.
I know our meetings are good. I know our content is good. I know it's changing people's thinking. You know, I was at my mom made me go to a dinner party. In our culture, that's what we do, right? You got to go to your uncle's house, and then everyone comes and takes their shoes off, and you know, now you're sitting on the couch in your socks and talking. And everybody, and I've avoided this forever, right, since I was 16. But once in a while, you got to go. And everyone talks about what? They talk about their job.
Other people.
I'm writing this here, so I don't forget my point. They talk about what?
Problems.
Politics.
Politics.
So this one guy, he's like, man, the economy just couldn't be worse right now. And I know there's a little sell-off today. It has nothing to do with anything, right? But I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. I go, let's talk through that. This is all I like to talk about. Like, thank God. I was like, where do you work? He said, I work at Capital One. Doing what? And he's on the tech side, right? So we can estimate that he's probably making $130,000. And I said it to him. I was like, oh, so you're making mid-100s. That's pretty good, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, you own a house? A home, right? I said, is your home up in value last few years? He's like, well, yeah. But it's so hard if you want to buy a new one. I said, what do you care? What's your interest rate? 3%. You have cash in the bank? Well, yeah. What's your interest rate there? It used to be 5, now it's 4.5. But you guys own a restaurant, don't you? Yeah. How's business? Oh, it's actually good. So where is the economy hurting? Are you talking about like the lower end market? Well, yeah, for them it's hurting, because then you got to transition to that. For them it's hurting. Let me ask you, how much are you paying your cashier right now? He said $20 an hour to a cashier. I said 3 years ago, how much did that person used to make? He said 7. He said, yeah, but my food costs are so high, and it's probably high for everyone else when they go to the grocery store. Yeah, but this is the first time that the lower bracket of income has had that type of increase in their wages. Right? So then he goes, all right, fine, they're making more, but my income stayed the same. No, it didn't. You probably are. But I said, you own a home, it went up, right? He said, yeah. I said, what about your 401k? How's that done? He's like, well, that's really up. So even if you didn't get a salary increase, the lower end of the market doesn't own assets. But the people that are middle class that own assets, they have asset inflation, which is a really good thing. That's the problem with people, man, is that with everything going on, like I got a text this morning, they'll start coming in. A lot of my clients are, I have clients on the left, clients on the right. They're like, oh man, now Kamala, if she gets in, I swear to God, I'm going to cash. I show you the text message. This guy has 500,000 with me. And I was like, no, you're not. And then, haha, smiley face and all that, right? But people's reality, it's so unbelievable, right? Like, you have your reality, and then people have their perception or interpretation of reality. And then there's this filter in between. This is what I try to work on. And whether people know it or not, when they come to meetings, this is what I'm working on. Because reality is actually pretty good, but people choose to be pessimistic, right? But if we could change the way that we interpret information, then we can really see reality for what it is. And even when it's not very good, maybe we can have a perception that it's good. Because when things are good and you feel bad, what's the point of things being good? That means you have to change yourself. The world is not going to change for you. You got to change the way you are. So bringing it all back, I know the value that we provide in meetings. I know what meetings does to people. Just like she said, hearing new people come up and how well they're doing. They're having success. You see young people dressed up, out there working, doing what people fear, right? Willing to do things that other people aren't willing to do, taking risks, learning how to sell, working commission. How much of the world never wants to work commission? The only way you can run a business is working commission. Right? Everyone wants to run a business, but then they don't want to work commission. Because they want the money to fall out of the sky. So yeah, be careful the people around you, the comments that they make. And by the way, that's why I don't have that many friends, and I'm not you guys don't want to hang with me, because this is what's going to happen. If you make like small talk, I'm going to pick it apart. I know that's not fun. You want someone to say, yeah, I know, man, crazy, sucks. So full-time focus. This is not everything. This is just a couple things that I had on my mind, right? Thomas, you can go to the next slide. Bill Whittle says this. The full-time focus is that you make money. We want you to survive. Earning while you're learning. You got to keep yourself in business while you're building a business. 2 cliches. Earning while you're learning. You got to keep yourself in business while you're building a business. Whether the people I work with closely, whether they know it or not, I have beat into their brain that it's unacceptable not to make money. And I don't care if you're young, I don't care if you're foreign, I don't care if you're uneducated, you can make a lot of money here. You can get that securities license, I will train you, and I expect people to go out there and make money. And I don't like when people are playing the Primerica game solely and they're getting recognition and then they're not making any money. There is the Primerica game. You got to get 20 recruits as an RVP to get a bonus. Why? Because they want you to get a certain amount of licenses. If someone can achieve that without the recruits, right? Do they not have to get 20? No, they still have to get 20. That's the game. They want 20 recruits. I'm going to do 20 recruits minimum. That's the game. But you also have to understand the Primerica business. The business is you got to make money. You got to retain your clients. You have to have a diversified cash flow. You got to have people showing up. You got to get people getting licensed. That ratio has to be acceptable. Your retention ratio has to be acceptable. So Bill Whittle's saying that if you are working here, you should get 3 transactions a week. And the way he breaks it down, he said 1 should be personal, 2 should be from training. 1 personal sale a week. You know, I was talking to Sheila today, and I have said this from the front of the room, and then she said it. And I said, what I say is, you have to make sure that, and I got it from other people, you have to make sure that your life for a period of time revolves around the business. You have to change your life so that you can be more successful. People say, I don't know anyone, I'm young. Okay, you got to start taking steps in your life to where you can meet people that are qualified. You have to start making different types of friends. You have to join organizations. You got to get yourself out there, right? And she was telling me, she said she has a recruit, and he's changing the shift that he works. Because he said, I want to start connecting with these people. And he's starting to work different times and different hours and different places, right? That's what you want to do. I think he actually literally changed his position. I think before he was traveling and now he's going to be more, right? It was something like that. But the point is he's changing his life around so that he can start to what? Bring that world to him. Fine, in your prior life when we bring you in, you don't know anyone that's qualified. You don't know anyone that needs insurance. Maybe you don't have credibility. But guess what? Going forward, let's arrange our life in a way where some of those things could happen. Right? So we should all, including me, be aiming to get one personal sale a week from people that we meet. From us going to our clients and getting referrals. And then you get 2 from training. So now, if I've hired Hai, right, and I've hired Kako, I'm going to set appointments with you guys. And we should be on enough appointments to where I get another 2 sales, and maybe I split that with them, or maybe they're not licensed and they're just getting a bonus. Whatever the case may be, I got to get to 3 transactions a week. And when you can get to 3 transactions a week, how many is that in a month? 12. If you do 12, how much premium are you going to do? Minimum 10K. Josh, what's our average? 1,100. Some of you guys do 13, 14, 15,000 off that. But versus us thinking that you have to be a top producer to do these types of numbers, you have to start telling yourself, no, if I'm just a worker, this is going to happen. If I'm arranging my life in a way to where I can meet new people, get business from the types of people that I want, I am going to make this happen. And maybe you get better on the personal side and all 3 of your sales are coming personal. Still a good thing. Because when you sit down with people, guess what? This is what Miguel Illich has been talking about from all the videos that these guys are sending me. When you make money, you can recruit better people. There's no waiting, right? I hate it when people don't have appointments and like, oh, I'm waiting for my guys to set appointments. What are you talking about? You got to go out there, right? And meet people and talk to people. The guys on my team, hey, maybe you need to change churches. People have done that. They play in intramural sports, football, basketball. My exchange, when she really started to blow up in her personal business, It was, she joined mommy's groups because she just had a kid and she would do baby boot camp and all these different things. She would meet all these moms. I remember she was brand new and she's like, I joined this group. And I had taken her on 6, 7, 8 appointments. She's like, I'm ready to go out on my own. And she got her securities license very quick. Her very first appointment, I'll never forget, this was like 12 years ago. Her very first appointment from one of the women in the women's group, her husband worked for McAfee, and she called me, she goes, Samir, this guy makes $40,000 a month. That was her first appointment. And she went on it on her own. So what are you doing? Whatever excuse you have about why you're not getting personal sales, why you're not recruiting people, why you're not getting more results, what are you changing in your life, in your situation, to where you can actually start to get those types of results? So if I work at Honda, and I'm just getting clients all day, and I've built a book of business where people are just coming and buying Hondas for 30, 40 grand, 50 grand, right? But then I go and I start working for Aston Martin or even Mercedes. Guess what? I have to start prospecting in different places. I have to live a different life. I may even have to dress different. When you go to the Toyota dealership, they're wearing polos. When you go to the Mercedes dealership, they are wearing shirt and tie, and they give you champagne when you walk in. Mm-hmm. It's a different client base. Now, this is my saying. I believe you are going to find whatever you're looking for. When people recruit down, it's because that is what they are looking for. When people recruit up, when people find big transactions, when people find sharp people, it's because that is what they're looking for. So you got to really ask yourself, man, what type of people am I recruiting? And what type of people do I want to recruit? When you are full-time, be careful who you spend your time with. Be careful who you spend your time with. You know, when someone spends time with me, the way that I look at it is one of two things is going to happen. Either you're going to come up towards my level or I'm going to come down to yours. And I damn sure ain't coming down. That's the way I think. So when people are around me, I expect them to perform. But if they're not changing and I'm not going to come down, again, there's no reason for this partnership anymore. Always remember, we can draft new players every single day of the week. So you have to have a standard in terms of the types of people that you're going to be spending time with. People who come to meetings. That whole thing, right? If you notice people that don't come to meetings, they are negative. They say stupid stuff that people that come to meetings would never say because they're not mentally trained yet. And now I have to have a conversation with an untrained person because they refuse to come and get trained. Right. That's really what's happening. They're pessimistic, they're negative, and they're normal. I have never recruited anybody that I could say, this person doesn't need to come to meetings. So you got to come to meetings. You got to be coachable. This is what we need to do. We need to get you in class. You got to bring people. We got to make a list. We have to set appointments. And of course, I'm going to provide the understanding there in terms of why people need to do those things, but either they're going to do it or they're not. And this is key right here. Anybody can spend 2 hours and find somebody new. Where is your time better spent? Trying to convince someone who is not listening and not doing what you want them to do, or you go finding someone else? What's that other cliche, Xander? Easier to what?
Give birth and revive the dead.
Easier to give birth than to revive the dead. Qualified appointments. Hector talks about this a lot. Why do we go on unqualified appointments? They're not going to see success. They are going to quit because they don't get success. So what's the point of me doing it in the first place? This whole thing like, oh, we're Primerica, we'll sit down with anyone, we'll help anyone. No, that is not true. You guys went from middle market to like lower income market. There's a very big difference. We are middle America. And now people can go and sit down with any type of client that they want when they are licensed. When you are licensed, you can go sit with anyone that you want. I'm just not going to go sit down with anyone you want me to sit down with. What does Samir say in the video? Because they should have watched the video, right? Married, kids, homeowner, 25 to 55, employed. You can add, been in the area for 5+ years. No, 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 but they have a pulse. No, it doesn't work that way. You're not going to make money. They're not going to make money. Now, I'm not saying if someone is a single mom, you're like, oh, they're not a 6-pointer, I'm not going. That's not what I'm talking about. But you guys know what an unqualified appointment is. What does a financial plan require? It requires discretionary income. Now, in Primerica, we say the discretionary income can be very little. We can work with you. Even $100 a month, we don't make anything, but we'll do a $50 investment, a $50 insurance policy. But if someone is negative, if someone is trying to survive, if someone is trying to keep their home, if someone is trying to keep their rent, right? That's not financial services yet. We will be able to help them in the future if they get in a better situation, but you're not like that type of financial counselor. All choices, man, that you guys get to make. Who you work with, what type of appointments you get on, what type of people you recruit, what type of markets that you're in. These are all choices, and they're your choices. Make sure that you're making the right ones, because that is what's going to determine how much success you have, how fast you go, how much money you make, which is really what we want, right? All right. For those of us who are going to Kings Dominion, it looks like it's going to be raining that day, so Shaq and I said we're going to look at the weather. I think that storm from Florida or whatever is coming up, but we'll look at that. We'll look at the weather on Tuesday to get a more accurate forecast, and then we'll take a vote. If you guys want to go in the rain, I've been in the rain before, we can go, right? But if we think we need to reschedule, we can do that too. Anything else, Shaq?
On that, my wife was there yesterday, because it's raining, they closed most of the games, so I don't think it'll be wise to go.
Okay, good input. Good input. If they're closing the rides. Anything else? All right, team on 3. 1, 2, 3.